Okay, we are back live again. Uh, it'll probably take a couple minutes as people refresh to come back in. This will be the part two for the. If you want more details of what exactly happened to Kiki, you can go to our YouTube page where she went into more detail. Kiki, if you just wanted um, to just do a quick refresher. It doesn't have to be too detailed about you were assaulted during this time and this time.
Okay. So to recap, the first encounter was at the age of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that went on for a couple of years, and then there was a pause where I was, things was looking a little bit better, and
Mm-hmm.
then new family came in, and I'm put back into the situation again. So now
Mm-hmm.
I have to go from being a 8-year-old, a 7-year-old going to being an 8-year-old to now I'm back into being into an adult world
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah. And we was talking about how a lot of times we have to build a protector. And you know what? And I was thinking too, they say that's how a lot of times, what, these multiple personalities get created from that kind of severe trauma. Because
Absolutely.
it's
And
like
the
a
and the
coping
sad thing
mechanism.
about it, Capri, is when I think back during that time frame, I was known as the problem child or the black
Mm-hmm.
sheep. You know what I mean? Even at
Mm.
such a young age, I
And they had
was
no idea.
I was a fast ass. That's
Mm.
the one name or word that it just sticks to me still to this
Mm-hmm.
day. I was a fast
Mm-hmm.
ass. And little
Mm.
did they know, people words can really, really, it can hurt you for life. I wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
fast ass.
Mm-hmm.
I was put into a bad situation when I was supposed to be just a child.
Right.
And instead of an adult at that point in time in my life, just take the time, ask questions, talk.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll find out a lot if they would have just opened up and just talk. But what I've
Yeah.
learned with my situation, I think I don't have the proof, but it
Mm-hmm.
could be possibly some things it's just generational curses where it just goes from one to another. Not to say the molestation, but just overall in general, people just not knowing how to communicate and how to talk to people.
Right.
And so we just learn how to just brush things under the rug and get over it.
So let me ask you, because you say you never felt comfortable with telling anyone. Why was that?
Because I was
Why
known
was
as a
it?
because I was known as a fast ass.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Even
Yeah.
at such a young age, because I was always an outgoing kid.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Very outgoing. I was always vocal, bold. Whatever I
Mm-hmm.
felt, I would say it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just felt like it wouldn't be believable. Like, who would believe me? You already done put
Mm-hmm.
these labels with me at such a young age. So why would you believe me telling you this?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and
Yeah.
then the one time that I did actually share something, and I don't want to go too deep into it because I haven't
Mhm.
really spoken to the people
Right.
that will be involved. But when the one time I did speak to somebody about something that had happened with a
Mm-hmm.
fondle, and at that time I was probably about 12,
Mm-hmm.
they told me not to share with my father. What?
Yeah.
Let me deal with it. And it was just,
Done. Uh-huh. Wow. And I've heard that happening a lot, to be honest with you, sadly. um, I don't know if it's because they don't want things to be get too messy in the family. I don't.
I don't think I think it's selfishness when
Mm,
it's involving like significance.
mm-hmm.
You're afraid of what the consequences are going to be involving you
Okay.
and your situation. You feel
Right.
what I'm saying? I think people, when it involves, and I'm just using this as an example, but someone who may have been molested by their mother's boyfriend or husband,
Right.
and mom ends up taking the side of the boyfriend or the husband. Sadly, you're going to be my child for the rest of my life, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to side with this person because I don't want to lose out on what the consequences are going to be. So I'm just going to patch you up and hopefully you'll be okay
Mm-hmm.
because I'm afraid of what's going to happen to me. So for me, it's just, I feel like you're a selfish ass person
Mm-hmm.
when you're thinking about yourself, especially when you have somebody at my age. At that time, I was still under, 18, and I'm trying to tell you that this is what happened,
Yeah.
and don't say nothing,
Yeah.
and let's just patch this up.
Yeah.
That's to me, that's selfish.
Yeah, and was crazy. And I remember this Oprah episode where this woman, she was with her kids, and her kids had got molested by her best friend. And when they came to her, she didn't do anything. And Oprah asked her, like, why didn't you do anything? And this woman said, I did not want to lose my friendship with him. So, yeah, it's selfishness. And you're not really, I don't know where that comes from. I feel like maybe there's something going on with them that they would react like that or think that's okay to prioritize somebody else over their children. But
I just strongly believe it's selfishness. You are
yeah,
afraid of losing something, whether
mm-hmm,
it's that person, your living arrangements. It's just a downright selfishness.
yeah,
Because if it had been in with my child, I would live. We would be homeless.
right,
I'm gonna be honest. We would be homeless, but she would be protected and she would be safe.
yes. So on Facebook, we have Kayla Owens is here, Hubby is here. Anissa wanted to ask you, when did you realize this wasn't right? So I guess when you were little, you think that this is normal. So when did you come to the realization that this is not normal?
I knew immediately it wasn't right.
Mm,
When a person would sneak, well, in my situation, it was a friend of the family, a friend of my brother.
mm-hmm,
And so when my brother would, because I was the baby sister, and so when my brother would, go upstairs to the kitchen or something, that's when he
mm-hmm.
would. It only took five seconds to do
Right.
something inappropriate.
Mm,
And
mm,
so I realized at that point, like, why couldn't you do this in front of him? So
okay.
I knew, but again, who would believe me?
Yeah. And you know what? We don't give kids credit for being smart. We think they don't realize things, they don't know things, they don't see things or observative things, but they are. They know what's going on. Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
Fiance said a father's job is to protect his daughter's innocence. Exactly.
Exactly.
So, with the assaults, how do you feel like it affected you as you were growing up? In
And
what
more
way
and more
did it
angry.
affect your life?
More and more angry.
Mm,
Um, the people that was the most closest to me are the ones that I hurt the most with
mm,
my anger. The people who deserved it didn't catch it. It was the
mm-hmm,
people like um, my mom who raised me, which is my mother's sister. She
mm-hmm.
caught pretty hell, and she did everything the right way. Honestly, she
Yeah.
did everything the right way by me when she, got me, um, at 12,
Mm-hmm,
and she put me in therapy, and we
mm-hmm,
talked about everything but the molestation. She had
mm,
no clue because I didn't want to talk about molestation during the times that she had me in therapy. And
mm.
so, it was just the people that love me the most are the ones that I truly like. I gave them pretty hell. But
Yeah.
to this day, I apologize from, the bottom of my heart. Hurt people hurt people. And I
Mm-hmm.
learned that. And that's
Yeah.
just not somebody I wanted to be. So
Yeah. So when did you realize, when did you feel like, okay, I need to talk about this?
honestly, it was 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm 42. So right at 38, 30, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
38.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was, I don't know. I was just, I don't know. It just hit me like all of a sudden. And earlier on, when I had my daughter, um, from the age when she was probably about 3 or 4, I had
Mm-hmm.
already started talking to her about, you know, inappropriate touches. I didn't care if it was uncles, aunts, cousins, father,
Mm-hmm.
whoever. Like, and I was starting
Yes.
to already, explain to her, if it ain't me touching you like this, if this person, I was just, telling her the rights and the wrong ways of how people are supposed to touch her. And
Mm-hmm.
so we started this little thing probably about when she was about 7 or 8, called In the Closet. And so In the Closet was just something that whatever we would discuss, it would stay in the closet between she and I. And little
Oh,
by little, I started to open up. But
yeah.
then when she was 15,
Mm-hmm.
um, that is when I started to connect, all of the dots for her. And she was
Yeah.
like, wait a minute, Ma. She was going back to when she was like 5 or 6. This is why you told me. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. And I was very detailed with her. I didn't want to hold
Mm-hmm.
no secrets from her. She's been
Yeah.
my strength. She's been my rock. She's been my, even sometimes she had to be mom to me at times when I go back to being that 5-year-old girl myself. So my
Yeah.
strength has definitely come from my daughter. And
Yeah.
so, you know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it
There's
was like it
a
was sort of
Drea.
aha moments where I was just ready to talk about it.
Yeah. And I love that in the closet idea. That's really good idea for people to feel safe. People
I
like to
want
make fun of
to
safe spaces, but it's actually a real thing that needs to happen. We all
exactly.
need safe spaces.
Oftentimes we get our children their wants and we don't really give them their needs.
Yeah.
Our children don't, your wants can you can get your wants, but what I've learned in being a mother for 19 years is her needs is what is top priority at 100%. Not just her. I got another daughter. I talk to her all the time as well. And I got another son,
Mm-hmm.
with my fiance. So we have a total of 3 kids. So I talk to
Okay.
each of them, very openly. There's no holds bar. We get
Mm-hmm.
down and raw with it. And
Yeah.
so they inspire me. I want them to succeed and not hold things in. Something that bothers you, get it out so
Mm-hmm.
that they can be productive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's key to growth is to get
Exactly.
it
It's a way of
release it.
life. It's a way
Mm-hmm.
of life.
Yeah. Adrea McCullum, she says, Bess, I'm super proud of you, love. Christopher Carter, he's saying that's deep, probably
That's
about what you
family.
had to go through.
Thank you,
Yeah.
family.
um, Anissa is asking, as an adult, did you have nightmares, flashbacks? What were your triggers? Have
I
triggers. I'm
never
assuming
really
you
had
did.
any nightmare. I've never had any nightmares about it. Um, I'm being honest with that. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Triggers for me is someone being, I guess, overly aggressive, that
Mm-hmm.
take charge mentality. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, pump your
Yeah.
brakes. And
Yeah.
so the piggyback on, what we talked about earlier on of
Mm-hmm.
what made me want to talk about it. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
the people that you're most closest to and that you love the most, it's important for them to really understand you. So when it came to my fiance, I needed for him to really understand the one who I am as a woman. And
Right.
so because he didn't quite know everything about me, by
Mm-hmm.
me opening up, he deals with me differently now.
Okay.
What you know what I mean? And same thing even with my daughter or my
Mm-hmm.
mom. or you know what I mean? So once you put it out there of this is what my trauma is or was, then those that really matter to you, they deal with you a little bit more differently.
Yeah.
And they treat you better, to be honest with you. You gotta be open, you gotta be honest.
Yeah. And that's another reason to talk to those closest with you about your praying, your struggle, what you've been through. Because they, like you said, they're doing things, don't even realize what they're doing could be a trigger or
Exactly.
taking you to a dark place. So there's an angel Char. She says, "Good evening. As a special educator, I see this with students. They become labeled as behavior students, but unfortunately, suffer from a trauma of childhood that carries into adulthood trauma if therapy and healing does not happen." Yeah, that's why I was anytime I see children that are very angry or like aggressive or something, I always feel like but there's always something behind it, but
There's
we're
a
so
why.
quick to
There's a
label.
why.
Yeah. Especially
Absolutely.
black boys, when they're little. Oh, he's, my friend's dealing with that now, where they're saying her son might be on the spectrum when he's just a hyper child. Like, always so quick to be labeled something negative instead
We
of,
we definitely have to put these labels to the side. We got to
yeah.
stop labeling people in
Mhm.
general, especially children,
Yeah.
because children are like they're sponges. Everything that you pour into them as sponges, they
Mhm.
absorb it, and
Yeah.
so and it sticks with you for life.
Yes. What
And
you
we have to be
say to
very
them.
careful. Right. We have to be very careful of our choices of words or what we say to people. Because
Yes.
you can either speak life or you can speak death into them. Especially if they're
Yes.
not strong, you speaking nothing but death and
Yes.
failure.
So true. I was reading a meme somewhere that was saying like a lot of times the negative thoughts in your head are actually your parents' voices.
Hmm.
Because if you have parents that are constantly like talking down to you, you continue to hear these voices into adulthood. Like it sticks with you. And I say that all the time. We have to be careful how we talk to each other, how we deal with each
Absolutely.
other, especially children. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
Darius Alexander, she says, Key, I'm proud of you for having this discussion.
Thank
Uh, my sister Candra's on a live. She said, it is a good thing. My son and I have tea time. Well, she's talking about safe space. They have tea time. You empowered and prepare them
you.
with
Absolutely.
doing those. It, and that will also during those moments, if something bad happens to them, I guess that's the perfect time to allow them to feel comfortable with expressing themselves, which is another reason why that's important, because you don't know what these
Very.
kids are going through, especially nowadays.
You don't.
So
And you don't.
much.
You don't.
Yeah. um Now, what is your advice for someone who was sexually assaulted but hasn't come out yet, is not comfortable with coming out?
My advice would be, I mean, there's no set time
Mm-hmm.
for anyone. So I don't want anybody to think that, oh, I have to. No, you
Mm-hmm.
you have to do it when you feel comfortable and when you feel that now is the time.
Yes.
For again, to go back to me, it, there was no date. I came out with it. This is what it is, and from that day, my life has been doing a 360. You know what I mean? Some for the good, some for not the good, but I take it and I keep
Mm-hmm.
striving. It's a day by day process. My advice would just to be is to number one, never blame yourself for what has happened to you. Um, you know, Me personally, some people might want revenge or want to see that person be held accountable. I can't speak on that behalf. I just, in my situation, let go and let God.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good
Yeah.
because, and how I was able to deal with it was when I did my photo shoot. last year. A lot of people didn't know what was the real meaning behind that photo shoot, but that photo shoot for me was an indication of freedom.
Right.
I have arrived. You know what I mean? It was something for me within me to know.
Yeah.
Walking broad daylight with no shirt on up top. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the photographer and his family, and I did it broad daylight
Mm.
in the middle of downtown. You know what I mean? But it was
Uh-huh.
just for me, it was just empowerment, just
Yeah.
being free, breaking the barriers. Just this is what it is. Take
Mm.
it as it is. It is what it is. I'm good.
So, what did Gary had to say about you having your stuff out in broad daylight downtown? Was he happy at
He said,
first?
boy, actually, he told me, do you, boo? That's exactly
That's
what
a
he said.
confident man right there, honey.
He said, do you. Like, whatever it takes, do you. I support you 100%.
Yeah. Crystal's asking, what have you gone through? Have you forgiven this person or both of these people? Because it was two different people.
Several people.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Honestly, you go through a process, Crystal, of you go from angry to sad, back from sad to angry, but I've gone through it, and honestly, yeah, I've forgiven them because again, I go back to hurt people hurt people. Some things are just generational curses that no one they've been getting away with it, and 9 out of 10, the same thing that the person has did to me has something was done to them. So it just go from one chain to another chain to another chain, and it's
Yeah.
just up to the individual. For me, I had to put a stop to it for my health and for
Yeah.
my life, because I would have been in that same boat where I would have been experimenting, thinking that this is okay, and it's
Mm-hmm.
not okay. You understand what I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, I've forgiven them. You just
Yeah.
gotta. I mean, my faith is so strong. My
Yeah.
faith is strong, more stronger now than it has ever been. And so,
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to grow, I have to forgive and keep it moving, and see
Yeah.
how I can better be available to help somebody else that went through or going through what I went through.
Yeah. Tabitha Facebook, she says, real is real. Yeah, real recognizes real. Gary says, love you for loving mine as yours. That's
They are
nice.
mine.
Where you get him from? You know, walking poet. I do want to go back to people who are scared to talk because this is an issue I'm very passionate about. Because anytime these victims come out years later, they oftentimes the most common reason for people not choosing to believe them, they say, well, why are they coming out now 20 years later and all this other stuff. And I just really want to make clear that people come out when they feel comfortable coming out. It is okay to do that. Don't feel embarrassed about it. I just did a video about this because you don't it takes you to process this years because sexual assault is like the most demonic form of abuse for me. I consider it because it's something that is like a manipulation of love, and it can really, I mean, it's just really a dark abuse, so it takes a lot to process it. So yeah, I just
I
really
was
wanted
I
to
was
focus
I
on
would say to people, I wouldn't put too much focus on what other people think is a suitable time to
that.
talk
Right.
about anything. You know
Right.
what I mean? We are all born individually, not unless you're born a twin, but even as a twin, you still come out one at a time. So I would not put too much thought or anything on what anybody has to say.
Yeah.
If you want to wait till you're 60 years old to talk about it, that's your choice. We all
Right.
have a choice of when we choose that we want to speak.
Right.
So, I just hope that at some point that any victims or survivors, if they need somebody to talk to, you know, um, of course, be very mindful of who they're talking to, because not everybody's going to, of course, have their best interests at heart, but make
Mhm.
sure that the people that you are linking and connecting with are for you and going to root for you to get over this hurdle.
Yeah,
Um, and that's one of the things that hopefully in 2021, I'm already starting something. I want to start like a support group. It's actually called SOSAMS, which stands for Survivors of Sexual Assault Molestation Support. And it's going to be a nonprofit where it's going to provide the support for people who don't have families or close friends that they can talk to. Not everybody is asking for a handout or, tissue. Some people just want just have a shoulder to lean on.
yeah,
Just having that resource or that connection of, okay, how do I get from this hurdle to that hurdle? How
mm,
can I live a normal and a healthy life after somebody has violated me? So that's my focus for 2021.
yeah. Shirley, this a sibling
That's
or
my mom.
that's your mom? Oh, I thought it was your sister. Look at mama in the picture. She said, "Now I understand why you asked why I love you." Mm. So, something else I want to get into is another reason why people don't say anything is because of fear of retaliation or fear that they're going to be the one that destroys the family. Actually, I have heard about this happening a lot where the predator will actually say to the child, "Oh, if you say anything bad stuff, something bad will happen to me, or your mom will, die or something." Like, you know what I'm saying? So, and then not even retaliation from other family members. I had a best friend whose daughter was touched by her uncle, and the wife went in on the daughter like, "Oh, she must have been fat," like, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of times people don't speak because they don't want to deal with how other family members will react to them because they can't face the truth. They don't want to deal with the truth. Like you said earlier, they're being selfish.
This,
So,
this is definitely why we need things in our communities. So when
mm-hmm,
these things take place, we need to have something, just like we treat any other trauma.
mm-hmm,
Um, and that's not to be against any other, issues that,
yeah,
domestic violence or mental health. I'm not taking away from those situations either, but we
yeah,
definitely need something in every community. So when people have these type of, incidents where families are given retaliation, we need to have a safe haven for people as well, especially those that are under the age of 18.
mm-hmm,
And so um, that's where my heart is at. You know,
mm-hmm,
that's my vision, and God willing, that's what it's going to be.
yeah. What advice would you give to a parent whose child comes to them and tells them
That they've been molested.
that they were touched?
My advice to any parent: if your child tells you, the first thing you need to do is believe them, and then from that moment, you need to go into mama and papa bear mode, and you need to protect your child, and
Mm-hmm,
you need to seek whatever actions that needs to be taken to make sure that justice is done for your child,
mm-hmm,
and being open and having open communication, allowing that child to be able to be vocal about the details of what happened, if that's what it's going to take for them to get over, to cope,
yeah,
give them the therapy that they need, and just be the support. The
mm-hmm,
main thing is just being the support. And
yeah,
I think that's where a lot of us fail at, is supporting um, those who come out. We just have a blind eye to it.
yeah. And that support could also be like if it's, I mean, I'm not sure what someone as young as 5 to 9 how this would play out, but I know, like, for me, I was assaulted in my teenage years, and I did not want to prosecute the person because I didn't want to go through that, and there was pressure there. But when you say support, for me, I also feel like, I mean, later looking back, I wish I had, but I wasn't strong enough then. But at the same time, that support could be like, oh, you know what? If you want to not follow through on this and not guilt the person into, you know what I'm saying?
I think we need to work on cultural betrayal. I
Yeah,
think that's what puts a stop on, like in your situation with older people.
right.
This is where a lot of it gets, slipped through the cracks as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the cultural betrayal. People don't want to betray other people, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time, even if the person is not strong enough, the victim or the survivor, I feel like the state, something should be mandated. Something should be
Yeah.
the voice to still go ahead and to prosecute on behalf of that person.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be because you're not able to do so.
Yeah, and actually, I was misinformed by the police, which I don't know how it's done now. Back then, they handled me horribly. But I found out recently that you actually had three options. You could charge them. You can also have the police officer scare the shit out of them, or you can just leave it alone. So there's actually multiple avenues you could take. We have it where your file is still there, and I didn't, because I was told 10 years, right? I
I
didn't
think it was
know.
10 years.
Yeah, there's some states you have to look where it's actually a lifetime. You could actually have that file there, and once you're strong enough to follow through with it, you can still you can go back and prosecute that person. So, I mean, there's a lot of different avenues to take when you're ready to.
When you're,
Yeah.
but I feel like even if you're not ready, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like again, we have all these laws out here, and again, this is not to take away from other um, incidents or whatever, but
Yeah.
if I go out there and I harm somebody,
Mm-hmm.
then the state prosecutor will come after me for assaulting somebody with a deadly weapon. You
Mm-hmm.
understand what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you don't know what the person may have done to me for me to try to protect myself. But again, the state
Mm-hmm.
is going to still come after me. So I feel like the law is going to should change when it comes to um, things in this nature, when it comes to molestation and sexual assault and the R. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Um,
Uh-huh. Yeah. So we
something
have
has to be done.
Yeah. We have a question from Mr. Thomas. He said, in this generation, how do you know if the child is telling the truth and not being malicious?
I really can't give you an answer to that. I don't even think it's a generation thing. I think it's an individual.
Mm,
Um, some people are not forthcoming with the truth.
hmm.
Um, but I feel like it should be based on as an individual. So I really can't give an answer to that.
Yeah, I can give an answer. For me, I would say to start off, I would start off taking it as truth and investigate the shit. If your child is coming to you and say this is happening, you need to handle it in the beginning like it's the truth and get to the bottom of it, because at least then I think the biggest hurt from my friends whose parents did not take them seriously was the fact that they just ignored it and just pushed it to the side. They didn't even look into it to see if it was true. So at least your child is seeing that you're taking them seriously and that you are believing them. um,
Absolutely.
that's just my opinion.
Great. I agree with that. I didn't
Yeah.
have a quick answer to that, but
No, it's
I
fine. It's
agree.
fine.
I
I
do agree with
know.
that. I
And
do
then
agree
it's
with
kind of a triggering question too, because you got like,
I mean, I really think that I think that with this new generation, because I mean, times are definitely different from when I was coming up in the late 70s, early 80s.
mm-hmm,
But what I will say is, we need to go back to educating students. When I was coming up, like I was telling you the other day, I had officer friendly who used to come to the school and discuss, drugs, stay off of drugs, or during the early 80s, there was a lot of kidnapping going on. So they would talk about, you know, don't talk to strangers, Smokey the Bear,
Yeah.
and it's like now with all this new technology out,
Yeah.
nobody visited schools.
Yeah.
So I really feel like, you got to educate people, because you think you're leaving it for parents to educate, but some parents by choice
Mm-hmm.
have to work 2 or 3 jobs. So you're just trying to provide. And I
Yeah.
hate to put that burden on educators, but I think it takes a village and it takes a community just to educate our children of consequences. If this is what the outcome is going to be.
Yeah.
If you're telling something that's not truthful, but we're going to get down to the bottom of it eventually and find out if you're telling the truth or not. You
Yeah.
know, so
Carissa says you have to know that child's character. More than likely, I don't have children, so I don't know how this works. But I guess you would know your child, like
your
you.
child. Yeah,
Okay.
you know your child. You do know your child.
Yeah.
But I understand what he's saying. I
Yeah.
do understand it.
Mm-hmm. Especially like you said, they have so much access now to stuff they might see on TV. They might like talk about what they saw. So yeah, but definitely get to the bottom of it. So
Absolutely.
what were the steps that you took towards healing?
My faith.
Mm-hmm.
My faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, honestly, I know it doesn't work for everybody, but my faith and trying to, you know, find solutions of how I can help somebody else in this situation. How can I be a better assistance? Because as I'm helping them, I'm helping myself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that any of us are born without a purpose. I think we all are born with a purpose.
Yeah.
And so this right here is going to be my mission and my purpose,
Yeah.
you know, ongoing.
Yeah.
Um, and so just my faith and just me believing in God, that's my strength and my rock. And
Yeah.
that's just how I get by.
Yeah. And I just want to tell you, when Anissa first told me about you and us talking, I I was re-triggered in processing my stuff because it's a constant process dealing with
Absolutely.
um, your experiences, your trauma. It's a constant something you have to constantly work on. And I was so nervous to talk to you because I wasn't sure how I wasn't sure how you were going to be talking about it and how all this, was going to mess with me. But when you were on the phone with me, your energy through the phone, I just want to tell you, like, it made me like want to have this discussion. It didn't make me want to shy away from it. Like it reignited like my passion for like letting more people understand this kind of abuse and how to heal from it and things like that. So you definitely are walking in the direction you're supposed to be walking. I see that for you. I feel that for you. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you.
Because a lot of times we second guess ourselves because trust me, as you go on this journey for trying to nonprofit, it's going to be rough. But you got it, and you got good people around you because this is no place you play.
She don't play at all, and
Right.
I can't thank her enough. I really can't. Like I thank her from the bottom of my heart. I really do,
Yeah. Yeah.
because she put that fire back in me too. Because a lot of no's was said to me,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a lot of silence. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of silence. I talk about it, and it's just kind of like crickets. But I'm
Yeah.
not going to from this day forward. I would no longer, be quiet about it. I'm going to talk about it any chance I get.
Yeah.
If I can help one, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Yes. We have some more questions. Mr. Thomas, do you think that parents that are total molestation and do nothing, should they be prosecuted?
Okay. Do you think that parents that are told of molestation and do nothing should
Nothing.
they should be held accountable?
Mm-hmm.
I yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Because how would this stop?
Mm-hmm.
How would this stop? Um, I I don't have the numbers, but I believe with everything in me that the majority of the issues that we have in today's world when it comes to drugs, alcohol, obesity, mental health, I strongly feel in my soul that it all triggers from something that had happened behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, being a parent does not come with a handbook. But if a child tell you something and you don't take their word as their word, then I'm sorry. Consequences does fall on the parent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is where I'm really on board as far as the defund the police movement, where they're saying to bring therapists into situations instead of um, like actual like calling the police or somebody, whatever. I feel like because for a parent to have that kind of mentality, there needs to be some kind of work
Intervention.
done. Yeah, yeah, there's something going on with them as
Oh
well.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Something definitely needs to be done.
Yeah. And even with so the reason why my platform is called Endowed because I believe that when you're traumatized, well I learned that when you're traumatized it leaves holes in you and we fill those holes with either alcoholism, drugs, sex, it could be a lot of negative things and with Endowed we're trying to fill yourself with more positive things to heal. So I know in our discussion, you were saying that you felt that your weight was a contributor to what happened to you.
Hmm.
How is that?
The fact that you don't want nobody to touch you. My weight is my
Mm-hmm.
protection. I mean, I've always been, healthy. Well, I
Mm-hmm.
like to call it fluffy. But but I will say it, not everybody's into fluffy. So it
Mm-hmm.
always been like a protection where I wouldn't have so many people wanting to, you know, find me attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I learned, later in my teens, I just started embracing my curves and I just started to learn how to love me. And like I
Mm-hmm.
said, it's a process, but from my earlier years up until I would say 19,
Mm-hmm.
between that phase is when my weight. And that was
Mm-hmm.
just my protection. I didn't want nobody
Mm-hmm.
to look at me.
Mm-hmm. And you had no motivation to
No,
change. Yeah. Uh,
none.
Janine Hicks, he said, I love how your faith has helped assist you in your growth and your mission. Uh, Carissa said, so glad God has strengthened you to go higher. We have a Samar Moore sending you love. You have a lot of support. And that's one thing I know it's about you. And that's amazing. That's beautiful.
And I thank them from my heart. I
Mhm.
really do.
Yeah, because it's needed.
It is.
It's
It is.
definitely needed.
And
So,
anybody who's listening, just based on what you're sharing about, my support system,
yeah.
anybody else that's online that's listening that is a victim or a survivor, I will say, take the first step. Um, Talk to whoever. I'm available. My number is. I'll give you my number if you need it. But
What's your for email?
take the first initiative. But take the first initiative, and you'll see that your support can go a mile away from where you're
Mhm.
standing. But you
Yeah.
just have to take that first step as to open up and talk and not be ashamed about, what happened.
Yeah.
Um, don't be ashamed.
Yes. That's the biggest thing.
We done nothing wrong.
Right. And then I really want to get into how the Black community handles sexual assault.
We don't.
And we we don't. And just like everything, I was reading an amazing article how it all goes back to slavery. because we're everything for us, no matter how people want to deny it, for us, it does go all the way back to slavery and then the time of deconstructing the black families. Because it started off, slave owners used to have us mate with each other. And then, of course, the next generation saw that as normal and was doing it on their own. And then from there, it kind of is slowly, but you still have some that kind of have that mentality in the family, but then we don't talk about it. We're not going to
Absolutely.
talk about it. We're not just
Absolutely.
discuss it. But now I feel like our generation, no, it's not. Like it's a whole different vibe. But I've noticed that even in our generation, they still kind of have that old mentality. Like they'll ask questions, oh, why did you go over there? What were you doing? Or, oh, how did you get them excited? And
Hmm.
it's very disheartening
It
that
is.
it seems like that's more prevalent in our culture to blame the victim instead of blaming the predator.
And I just feel like, and that's because I go back to generational curses.
Mm-hmm.
It just repeats itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why we don't deal with it. We don't talk about it. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? Because we
Yeah.
don't implant it in our heads that this is, well, this is normal. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
not normal.
Right.
It's not normal. Cousins
Yeah.
are not supposed to be kissing. That's
Right.
nasty.
Right. Oh, you
No,
have that creepy uncle that be rubbing the small of your back a little bit too much.
young girls sitting on your uncle's laps.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Some things is just you don't do.
Yeah.
Now that I'm a mother, and like I said, I have my daughter. Those are some of the things that I was just no from
Yeah.
the door.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
but no, we don't talk about it, and I feel like we need to have another discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And another discussion, and another
You
discussion.
know what we do
We
do
have
though?
to
Even though we don't talk about it, it'd be jokes made about it. Like we all know that one person in the family, you know what I'm saying? Like at a family function or something, it'll be brought up like, oh, don't leave such and such alone. Like people, it's like they know, but it's not dealt with properly.
it's crazy. It's
Yeah.
it's it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The things that we are okay with is
Mm-hmm.
not okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we just live in a world where sex is what sells. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Sex is what sell. I mean, even I can remember regular TV.
Mm-hmm.
You might see a peck, a kiss, or something. Now, I mean, regular channels,
Yeah.
they naked. I mean,
Yeah.
so it's like, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to this one thing, it's like it's brushed
Mm-hmm.
under the rug. But
Yeah.
we have to continue to keep having these conversations, and hopefully it will inspire other people to open up and be forthcoming about what has taken place with them. So that way we can continue to help other people.
Yeah. Like I always now I live by the mantra of be comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's the
Exactly.
only way you can heal and become a better person and be an asset to other people. You have to be comfortable
Exactly.
being uncomfortable, having those uncomfortable
You
conversations.
have to. You
Yeah.
have to. You have to be open minded. You can't be
Mm-hmm.
closed minded. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to, whatever is said, you just got to deal with it. This is
Yeah.
what it's gonna be. Like
Yes.
it or not, we can agree to disagree.
Right. Yeah. So before we close out, so you say you're gonna start the nonprofit next year, start the support
Absolutely.
group. We definitely will be blasting that out to our people once you get that up and running and started. Is there she got the business plan already.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be
Get the
amazing.
bid.
It's
And
gonna
that's
be.
a nice one too. I like a business card kind of too. I was like, oh, this is a nice card.
Thank you. The colors for So Sam's is gonna be yellow and black. and it's just
Okay.
the dark from to the light, and it
Oh, I
represent
like that.
not just females. It's going to represent for males too, because I mean they fall
Yes.
victim as well. So this is
Yes.
not about just young girls and women. No, this is about male and females that
Love
fall victim.
that. Love that.
Very
Because
nice.
men, um, they don't even
And
talk
we
about it.
and you know what? They don't have to talk about it. Men deal with things differently. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I just know based on experience and being friends with some who have been a victim,
Mhm.
they do good in other areas where they don't have to talk about it, but they they do good by their children. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So that this
Yeah,
don't happen to their children. So I
yeah.
respect men
I
who
noticed that.
who is not willing to be open, but I
Yes.
do respect the ones who was willing to open up and talk to me about it and
Mhm.
felt comfortable to talk to me about it. And I
Yeah.
salute them. But we gotta give them some type of therapy too. I mean, it
Yeah,
don't have to be therapy where
definitely.
we talking to a counselor. It could be just a therapy, just a getaway. Like
Yeah.
I don't know when life get back to being normal,
Yeah.
giving them a trip to see their favorite team play. I don't know, but you know what I
Yeah.
mean. But
But I
men
think,
deal
yeah, it's
with
hard for them because they feel like they have to be strong, and talking about it is a sign of weakness, or admitting what happened to
men,
them is a
right,
weakness.
but
Yeah.
differently, and that's fine. That's just that's their nature. You know what I mean?
I don't
But
like it.
you like it.
I don't. I want them to be vulnerable.
I respect it. I mean, I put it to you this way: the right man will open up to the right woman or to
Mm,
the right person.
mm,
Men are they're hunters. They're very discerned. Like they have their spidey. I like to say spidey radar. They keep their radar on for predators.
mm.
So when they fall victim, and that has been basically like their power has been taken, it
Yeah.
takes them time to feel open and comfortable. But with the
Mm,
right person, like I said, I've had males who open up to me about being a victim,
yeah.
and for them to do that, I commend them.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Oh, well, it was amazing talking to you, Kiki. We have came up on our hour. We're about
Thank
really
you.
fast.
Thank you. And I truly appreciate it. I appreciate all the love from everybody.
Yeah, it was powerful. How many people came out and support, showed up, and showed out for you. So, any last words? I don't know if you said your last words. What you wanted to say?
Any last words for me?
Yes.
Again, I just want to thank you for this time, this platform. I hope we can, maybe in the future have another discussion. Maybe
Mhm.
we can get a little bit more deeper. Maybe talk about just, sexual molestation with men. Maybe we can go a little bit deeper with that.
Yeah.
Um, but I just really want to thank you for this opportunity to be able to start the process of what I'm working towards.
Oh, well, thank you for letting me to be the first person you felt comfortable with talking to. That means a
Thank
lot to me.
you.
And you didn't do so bad. You was all nervous and stuff. She was nervous,
I was
y'all.
nervous. Very nervous, girl. Girl, I was nervous.
You did amazing.
Thank
So yeah.
you.
So
Thank
we're gonna put your. Do you want people to follow you on Instagram, or you have a private Facebook group?
I do. It's called Behind Closed Doors.
Mm-hmm. So we'll put the link to that in the comments, and your Instagram, so people can follow you and keep up with what's going on. Okay. Thank you everybody for watching. See
Thank
you
you.
soon.
Thank you so much.